hadn't planned on coming back that night, but I did, and I found them, together, doing, well, you'll see. Please read this all the way through because by the end, you'll understand why I did what I did. It started with a harmless favor for someone I trusted and ended with a decision that still keeps me up at night. I hadn't planned on coming back that night. The only reason I even had a toothbrush in the truck was because I'd been crashing at my buddy Mark's place all week, just until things cooled off, you know? Just until Rachel and I could look each other in the eye without one of us flinching. Rachel, 30, my wife of 5 years. Her voice used to feel like home. Lately, it sounded like static, constant, grating, relentless static. She could find a way to argue about toast. And it wasn't always like this. There were years, real years, where we were stupid in love. The kind of love where you take turns washing each other's backs in the shower and make jokes about getting old together. Then came the fertility stuff. I'm 33. We'd been trying for 2 years, 2 miscarriages, and after the second one, something in her broke open, and not in a healing way. I watched the light behind her eyes flicker, and I did everything I could. Appointments, hormone tracking, her weird tea schedule, but I couldn't fix it. Neither could she, and that's when Josh entered the picture. My best friend since college. Josh, 34, the golden retriever in human form. He was the guy who never got mad, never got too deep, always had a beer in hand and some dumb joke to toss your way when life felt unbearable. He was our escape. He'd crash on our couch, talk trash about reality TV with Rachel, and call her Queen Rach like it was some inside joke. I didn't see it at first. Why would I? Josh was family. Rachel was my wife. You don't look for betrayal in the people you love. You expect the knife to come from strangers. I should have paid attention to the way their laughter started to sync up more than ours. How she stopped talking to me about her day, but always had a new Josh story. It wasn't overt. Nothing dramatic. Just these little shifts in gravity that I ignored because I didn't want to be the insecure husband accusing his wife of sleeping with his best friend. But something had been gnawing at me for weeks. A gut feeling that wouldn't shut up. And that night, that random Thursday I wasn't supposed to come back, Mark had to leave town for a work trip, told me to lock up and be out by morning. I almost got a motel. Almost. But I told myself I could just sneak in, grab a few things, sleep in the truck if I had to. No texts, no warnings. I parked on the street, quietly, lights off. I didn't want to argue, didn't want to wake her up. I just wanted to grab some clothes, maybe my work boots, and get out. But when I walked up the driveway, I noticed the light in the den was on. That was strange. Rachel never used that room. Said it felt too cold, too unfinished. We always joked it was the haunted part of the house. But the light was on, and I swear, I heard music. My keys were still on my ring. I opened the door slowly. No footsteps, no calling her name. Just that gut-sick feeling crawling up my spine. I stepped into the den, and that's where I found them. I won't say what they were doing. Not yet. Not because I'm trying to protect you, but because I need you to understand who they were to me before you understand what they did. I stood there for maybe 3 seconds before Rachel looked up. Her face, her goddamn face. It wasn't fear. It wasn't guilt. It was annoyed, like I'd interrupted a meeting. Josh didn't even bother to stand up. And me? I didn't scream. I didn't punch anything. I just said, "So this is where the static comes from." Rachel's mouth opened. Josh said my name, and I walked out. But trust me, that wasn't the end. It was the start of the kind of revenge you feel in your bones. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't even make it back to the truck. I just drove. No destination. Just street after empty street until the sun started bleeding into the sky and I realized I was 3 towns over, parked in front of a shuttered donut shop. My hands were still shaking. You ever get so angry your body forgets how to function? That was me. Couldn't feel my fingers. Couldn't cry. Couldn't scream. Just sat there with my foot pressed down on the brake, engine idling like I was waiting for the light to change, but there was no light. Just the kind of silence that feels heavy, like it's mocking you. I kept replaying her expression, the sheer indifference of it. Not fear, not remorse, just irritation. Like I'd walked into the wrong room during a private moment between consenting adults. Which I guess I had. Josh, my best man, my college roommate, the guy who held my head up at my dad's funeral because I couldn't stop shaking. Rachel, my wife, my goddamn partner. The woman who held my hand through sleepless nights after the miscarriages, who said we'd build a family anyway, somehow, together. They sat in the den, on the couch I built. I built that thing with my bare hands the first year we moved in. Sanded it, stained it, made it the exact length so she could stretch out while we watched movies. I bled on that wood. Literal blood. A splinter so deep I had to dig it out with tweezers and a shot of whiskey. That's where they decided to be together. It wasn't just the betrayal, it was the insult. That room was mine. That couch was mine. That space was supposed to be sacred. And they desecrated it with their skin and smugness like I'd never existed. And now I had choices. You always do in moments like these. I could scream, confront, blow it all up in one glorious, fiery explosion. Or I could be quiet, still, and wait. I went back to Mark's that afternoon, told him everything. His jaw dropped so hard I thought he dislocated it. "Are you sure?" he asked. Because that's what people say when they want to believe something that ugly couldn't be real. I didn't answer. Just pulled out my phone and showed him the picture. Yeah, I took one. Not for the internet, not for blackmail, just for me. So when I started doubting myself, because I knew I would, I could look at it and remember this wasn't some fever dream. It happened. They happened. He hugged me. One of those bro hugs where neither of you says anything because you both know if you open your mouth, the dam breaks. I stayed with him again that night. Didn't speak to Rachel. Didn't answer her texts. Didn't respond to Josh's "Can we talk" voicemail. I needed space, but I also needed strategy. Because here's what they didn't know. The house was still in my name. Josh's apartment lease? I co-signed it when he almost got evicted 2 years ago. Rachel's car insurance? Still linked to my account. And the infertility stuff she used to sob about? Turns out, I'd been saving every receipt, every appointment, every single ounce of emotional labor I poured into trying to build a life with her. And suddenly, I knew exactly how to use all of it. They thought the worst was getting caught. They hadn't even seen what I was capable of. Not yet. The first thing I did was cancel the autopay on Josh's rent. Petty? Maybe. But poetic? Absolutely. I knew the date. His lease payment always hit on the 3rd. He'd get a payment failed notification by morning. And I wanted that little spark of chaos to hit before I even lifted a finger on the rest. That apartment? He wouldn't qualify for it now without me. Not with his laughable credit score and freelance brand strategist job that paid in exposure and kombucha. Next up, Rachel's car insurance. I logged in, navigated to her profile, and clicked Remove Driver. Simple as that. No fight, no drama. Just a quiet digital delete of the woman who spent the last year calling me her rock while apparently sleeping with my best friend on the side. She'd find out the next time she got pulled over or, God forbid, into an accident. Let her explain to the officer why she was uninsured. I started packing too. Not my stuff. Heron, one box at a time, with methodical precision. Her shoes, her vintage jackets, the perfume she wore on our anniversary last year that suddenly made me nauseous. I boxed it all and labeled it with post-it notes. Kitchen witch, Instagram wife, false future, every label more brutal than the last. And in the closet, I found something that stopped me cold. The ultrasound photo, the first one, the baby we lost. It was in a tiny frame tucked behind her jewelry box, almost hidden. I don't know why, but I sat on the floor and held it. This blurry image of a life that never made it to daylight. For a few minutes, I couldn't move. My rage cracked open and something deeper poured out. Grief, betrayal, and the realization that maybe, just maybe, that baby was the only honest thing we ever had between us. I wrapped the frame in a towel and set it in my duffel. Not for her, for me. The next morning, Rachel finally showed up. She had keys. Of course she did. And I didn't bother changing the locks. Yet. I heard the door click open. The sound of her heels on the hardwood, then her voice like she was still entitled to peace. "Adam?" I didn't answer. She walked into the kitchen and froze. Boxes. Stacks of them. Her things, her life. Neatly packed and waiting. She turned and saw me leaning against the counter, coffee in hand. "You don't get to just move me out," she snapped, voice already climbing that octave I'd grown to dread. I sipped my coffee and nodded toward the table. There, printed out in crisp black ink, was a photo. The photo. Her eyes widened. "You took a picture?" "You posed for it," I said calmly. Seemed fair. She reached for it, like snatching it would erase the memory. I let her take it, let her stare at her own betrayal in high resolution. The denial drained from her face like someone pulled the plug. "You don't get to do this," she whispered. "This isn't who you are." "No," I agreed, stepping closer. "This is who you made me." Her phone buzzed. She didn't check it. I already knew it was Josh. I stepped aside and gestured to the door. "You've got until tomorrow to get the rest. After that, the locks change." And she actually had the nerve to cry, big heaving sobs like she was the one who'd been gutted. I stood there watching this woman unravel, and I felt nothing, just a dull, cold satisfaction. This wasn't revenge. Not yet. This was the prologue. Because I wasn't done. I was just getting started. That night, I didn't sleep. Again. But this time, it wasn't rage keeping me up. It was clarity. Like something had finally clicked into place in my skull, and I could see the whole board. Every lie, every manipulation, every time Rachel fed me just enough affection to keep me loyal while feeding Josh everything else. She tried calling 3 times. I let it ring. She texted, "Please don't throw everything away over one mistake." One mistake? I screenshotted it. I was keeping everything now. Digital breadcrumbs. If I was going to walk through hell, I'd at least leave footprints proving I didn't start the fire. Mark came by around noon with beer and silence, which was exactly what I needed. He didn't ask what I was going to do, just sat on the porch with me like we were waiting for a storm that had already arrived and passed, leaving destruction in its wake. Then he said something that stuck. Want to know the best way to hurt someone like Josh? I nodded. Take away the thing he thinks he's entitled to, but never earned. I knew exactly what he meant. Josh didn't just take my wife, he took my world and tried to wear it like a hoodie that fit better on him. My house, my circle of friends, my routines, my memories. He wanted my life. Not just Rachel. He wanted to slide into it like it was his turn. So I started pulling strings. I called Becky, Rachel's friend who worked at the same marketing firm as Josh. We weren't close, but she always liked me. Used to joke I was the only adult in that marriage. I asked how work was going for Josh. She hesitated. Then she said, "Why?" I told her the truth, not the sanitized version, the raw, jagged truth, that I walked in on them, that Rachel hadn't just cheated. She'd invited him into my home to do it, that they didn't even flinch when I caught them, that they acted like I was the problem. There was a pause. Then Becky laughed. Not like it was funny, the kind of laugh people make when they can't believe they were rooting for the villain. "You know what?" she said. "I always knew something was off." And just like that, a seed was planted. A few texts later, she agreed to forward me an internal email chain where Josh had apparently been bragging about leveling up in his personal life. There was even a joke in there about Rachel being an upgrade from Adam's fixer-upper sob stories. His exact words. I forwarded that email to his boss. Anonymously, of course. It wasn't even hard to find the right address. Just a quick LinkedIn search and a click on Report Misconduct. Corporate takes inappropriate workplace behavior very seriously these days, especially when it includes degrading clients' spouses on work servers. Then I got to work on the wedding photos. Josh had been one of my groomsmen. Yeah, that kind of betrayal. I took a few shots from the album, the ones where he was laughing with his arm around me or making toast with Rachel, and posted them on a burner Instagram account, each one with a quote underneath. Nothing false, just cold, sharp facts. This was 3 months before they started sleeping together. Best friend. Wife. Knife in the same hand. No names, just implication. People can connect dots fast when you leave them in neat rows. The account started gaining traction. Comments from mutual friends. DMs from people I hadn't heard from in years. Curiosity turned to outrage. And soon, sympathy turned into action. Because the best revenge is letting the people who loved you watch your enemies destroy themselves. And Rachel and Josh were just getting warmed up. Update 1. I wasn't planning on updating this soon, but after the absolute deluge of DMs, comments, and one surprisingly wholesome email, shout out to Midwest Mom 99 for the homemade lemon bar recipe and unsolicited therapy tips, I figured y'all deserved a check-in, especially because things have escalated. First of all, y'all are wild. One guy suggested I rent a billboard with their faces and the caption, "Brought to you by Betrayal Trademark." Another offered to help me stage a fake proposal in front of Rachel's yoga studio. My favorite, though? Start a GoFundMe to install cameras in the den, then rent it out to cheating spouses as poetic karma. Hilarious. Deranged. Deeply tempting. But let's get to the real fallout. Josh got fired. Yup. Apparently that little email chain Becky sent me. HR took one look at it and saw not just inappropriate workplace banter, but a violation of their client non-disclosure agreement. He'd referenced a client pitch and joked about sleeping with a competitor's wife, which, okay, not technically true, but enough to make his boss freak out. He didn't even get a warning. One meeting, one printed packet, done. Rachel called me that night. I didn't answer. She followed it with a voicemail that started calm and ended in pure chaos. You could hear the switch flip. First, "I just want to talk, Adam, please. This isn't you. We can still fix it." Then, "You think this is funny? You're ruining his life over a mistake. Do you feel like a man now?" And finally, sobbing. Real, messy, theatrical sobbing. I saved the message, and I laughed. It wasn't joy. It wasn't satisfaction. It was that kind of hollow laugh you make when you realize the devil doesn't show up with horns. He shows up with dimples and shared playlists and a toothbrush next to yours in the bathroom. The burner Instagram account exploded. A few of Rachel's friends started sharing the posts to their stories. One of them, Kelsey, I think, messaged me. She told us you were emotionally distant, that you gave up after the miscarriages. But this is next level. It hit me hard. Because I was distant. I was numb after the second miscarriage, but I never stopped trying. Never stopped hoping. I just didn't know I was the only one fighting for us. Now, that hope's gone. Replaced by something colder, sharper, more focused. I'm not just cleaning house anymore, I'm burning the foundation. Because while Rachel was spiraling, I got a message from her mother. Apparently, Rachel moved back in temporarily. And guess what her mom asked me? Can you be the bigger person? The bigger person. After walking in on them. After being lied to, erased, replaced. After watching everything I built get turned into some kind of stage for their ego-driven soap opera. Be the bigger person. So I sent her mom a photo. Just one. The ultrasound picture. The one Rachel hid in the back of the closet. And the caption? Ask your daughter who she was thinking about when she tucked this away. I haven't heard back. But I've got more moves lined up. Because if Rachel and Josh thought the worst was being caught, they clearly forgot one thing. I'm still here. And I've got nothing left to lose. By the end of the week, Rachel's life was in free fall. And the best part? I hadn't even touched the matchbook yet. Josh was unemployed. Rachel was back living in her childhood bedroom with a closet full of business casual lies and no health insurance. And me? I was calm, focused, not healed, not even close. But I'd stopped bleeding. Now I was planning. It started with the mailbox. I ordered a dozen postcards online, photos of Tuscany, Prague, New Zealand, exotic places, handwritten in messy print, each one addressed to Rachel, each signed, "Thanks for the memories. Wish you were here. Jay." They started arriving one by one. Her mom called me after the third. "Adam, are you doing this?" I said, "Doing what?" Dead silence. I let it hang. Let her wonder. Let Rachel wonder. Was Josh taunting her? Was there another woman? Was it me? That's the thing about betrayal. Once trust is dead, everything becomes a weapon, and I was just getting creative. Next up, the house. Legally, Rachel had no claim. She never contributed to the mortgage, never put her name on a deed or bill. But emotionally, that place was soaked in her fingerprints. Her favorite mug in the top left cabinet, her reading blanket still draped over the armchair, candles with names like Moonlit Peony or Sweater Weather, still cluttering the bathroom shelves. I boxed it all. But instead of donating it or trashing it like a normal person, I staged a garage sale, advertised it as Instagram divorce inventory, aesthetic AF. I even printed a flyer. People showed up, teenagers, influencers, old ladies with visors. They combed through Rachel's curated life like it was a flea market of lost dreams. One girl bought the blanket and said, "This smells like someone who listens to true crime and cries about her zodiac sign." I nearly choked. Then came the pièce de résistance. Remember the couch? The couch. The one where I caught them. I posted it online. Free to a good or morally questionable home. Some stains are metaphorical, others are not. Take at your own risk. It went viral. Someone actually drove 4 hours to pick it up. Sent me a selfie with it strapped to the roof of their Prius. "Putting this in our breakup room," the caption read. Rachel saw it. I know because she texted me, "Are you serious? The couch? What is wrong with you?" I replied, "You already did what's wrong with me." No response. Josh tried calling too. One of those long, rambling voicemails about how we used to be brothers and how this wasn't the real me. Said I was being vindictive. I saved that one too. Might use it later. But even with all the chaos I'd stirred, none of it compared to what happened next. Because you know how everyone's got that one group chat they forgot to delete? Rachel did. The one with her college friends. The one where she vented about playing the devoted wife and how easy it was to get Adam to pay for everything while still feeling neglected. She forgot I had her iPad. Still synced. Still logged in. I screen recorded the whole thing. And then, very calmly, very methodically, I scheduled a post for her birthday. Not on Instagram. That would have been too easy. I posted it on her LinkedIn, with screenshots, with timestamps, with a note. When you endorse someone for marketing skills, make sure they're not still emotionally bankrupt. It stayed up for exactly 41 minutes. Long enough for her boss to see. Long enough for every professional contact she'd built over a decade to get a peek behind the curtain. She called me 11 times. I didn't answer a single one. Because the thing about revenge, it doesn't have to be loud. Sometimes the quietest destruction is the most poetic. The first time Rachel showed up at my door after the LinkedIn post, she was shaking. Not with rage, though that came later, but with this weird, brittle energy. Like a deer that didn't know if it should bolt or beg. I didn't invite her in. I just stood in the doorway, arms crossed, watching her unravel. "I lost 3 clients, Adam," she said, voice cracking like glass. "My boss thinks I'm unstable. Do you know what you did?" I didn't blink. "You did that," I said. "You and your honesty circle." She opened her mouth, then closed it, then tried again. "That group chat was private. You had no right. And you had no right to turn my marriage into a punchline." Silence. She wasn't crying this time, just staring at me like I'd grown fangs. And maybe I had. The version of me that begged her to talk, to explain, to stay. That guy was dead. All that was left was this clean, efficient coldness. She walked off without another word. But that wasn't the end. Because Rachel is nothing if not theatrical when ignored. And I should have known her next move would be public. It started with a Facebook post. A long, winding paragraph about forgiveness, growth, and how some people weaponize pain instead of processing it. It was subtweeting without the tweet. She even threw in a vague line about abuse survivors becoming abusers. That made me actually laugh out loud. Then came the Instagram stories. Old photos of us, acoustic music in the background, and captions like, "Remember who we were before the hurt?" My phone blew up. Friends, family, coworkers, my aunt, even my ex from college DM'd me like, "Dude, what the hell happened?" Rachel was trying to rewrite the ending, paint herself as the tragic heroine in a story of miscommunication and grief. But she forgot one thing. People remember receipts, and I had them. Every text, every photo, every email, every giggle she sent Josh at 2 a.m. while I was working overtime to pay for fertility treatments. Every message calling me emotionally distant while she was planning sleepovers with my best friend. So I started sharing. Selectively. I didn't go nuclear yet. Just little truths. Quiet, deliberate clarifications and comments. Screenshots to mutual friends who asked. No ranting, no name-calling. Just the facts. And the tide started to turn. One by one, people stopped defending her. Friends she counted on went radio silent. Her old co-worker messaged me, "I thought she was heartbroken. Now I feel gross." Then came the text from Josh. One line. "You happy now?" I stared at it for a long time, and then I replied, "Ask her." Because here's the part no one tells you about betrayal. It doesn't destroy you. It redefines you. You stop being the nice guy, the helper, the forgiver. You become the person who remembers. And I wasn't done remembering yet. Not even close. Update 2. And that was the final mistake. I honestly thought we'd reached the bottom of the manipulation well. That Rachel had tossed out every card in her deck. Guilt, gaslighting, the growth and forgiveness PR campaign. But nope, turns out she saved the nuclear option for last. My mom. Now, before I get into what happened, let's set the record straight. My mom, bless her, is a soft-spoken, cardigan-wearing, conflict-avoiding woman who believes that family dinners and polite smiles can solve anything. She still sends Christmas cards to people who ghosted her in 2004. She bakes for people who insult her to her face. The woman is made of forgiveness and cinnamon sugar. So when Rachel showed up at her door, yes, showed up in person, sobbing, shaking, with mascara running like a sad indie music video, Mom let her in. Of course she did. Made tea, lit a candle, gave her tissues. By the time I found out, Rachel had been there 2 hours. I got a call. Not from Rachel, from my mother. "Sweetheart," she said gently, "I think you and Rachel need to talk. She's hurting." I swear, I lost time. Like, I blinked, and suddenly I was 10 years old again being told to apologize to a kid who stole my toys because he had a hard home life. "Mom," I said, "she's not hurting. She's losing. There's a difference." "She said you've been cruel, that you're trying to ruin her life," she whispered, and that's when something broke in me. "Do you want to know what I walked in on, Mom?" Silence. I told her. Everything. The den, the couch, the audacity, the iPad, the texts, the jokes. The fact that Rachel had the nerve to come crying to her after setting fire to everything I built. For once, my mother didn't know what to say. Finally, she just said, "Oh." That "oh" was all I needed. Rachel didn't go back, but the damage was done, because now she knew I was done protecting her, even from the people who loved me. She wasn't just losing control of the narrative, she was losing access to every space she used to occupy. My family, my name, my home, my silence. I thought that would be the end of it. But no, Rachel had one more move. One last desperate, chaotic swing. She posted a long, teary video. Public, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, everywhere. Full mascara, full apology, but not to me. She apologized to her followers. "Sometimes people make mistakes when they're grieving," she said. "I just wanted to feel alive again." And then she said the line that made my blood turn to ice. "I wish Adam could understand I never stopped loving him. Even when I was with Josh." I nearly dropped my phone. She didn't say it like a confession. She said it like a hook, a way to get sympathy, to frame herself as the girl who broke a heart but meant well. I didn't respond, because I didn't need to. The comments did it for me. "Girl, this ain't the Notebook. You cheated on your husband with his best friend. Read that sentence back to yourself and try again." She deleted the video within the hour. And for the first time since this started, I slept, really slept, because the final curtain had fallen, and the audience didn't clap, they booed, and I didn't even have to take a bow. 3 weeks after the apology video debacle, I heard Rachel had a job interview lined up. A friend of a friend mentioned it casually over drinks. Something about her trying to rebrand, pivot into nonprofit work now that corporate marketing felt too toxic. I nearly choked on my beer. Rachel, working in nonprofit. The same woman who once told a waiter his presentation energy was clashing with the vibe of the table was now apparently out here trying to save the world. But here's where it gets wild. The nonprofit, a grief foundation, specifically focused on helping couples navigate pregnancy loss. You read that right. She was trying to monetize our dead children. I sat there blinking, trying to understand how this woman's mind worked. But it didn't surprise me. Not really. Rachel has always had this ability to pick the most convenient version of herself to present to the world. Grieving wife? Sure. Brave survivor? Perfect. Add a new narrative filter and some LinkedIn fluff language. Reclaiming purpose after personal tragedy? And suddenly she's Mother Teresa with a marketing degree. And I know what you're thinking. Let it go. Don't touch it. Walk away. But you haven't seen what I saw. You didn't read the text where she called our miscarriages dead weight on the marriage. You didn't hear her laugh with Josh when she said, "At least we don't have a kid tying us together anymore." I had those receipts. All of them. And for the first time since this whole mess began, I knew exactly what to do with them. The night before her interview, I created a fresh email account. No name, no trace. And I sent one very calm, very professional message to the hiring committee. No swearing. No emotional outbursts. Just attachments, screenshots, dated, time-stamped. Her own words. I didn't lie. I didn't even editorialize. I just said, before you consider hiring this individual as a face of compassion, please review the following. These are direct communications sent during the period of her own pregnancy losses and reflect her actual attitudes toward grief, accountability, and those who supported her at the time. Make your own judgments. And I hit send. That was it. I didn't hear anything for 2 days. Then Mark texted me, "Dude, she didn't get the job and she knows it was you." I replied with a smile emoji. An hour later, my phone lit up with an unknown number. I knew it was her. I picked up. "Do you feel better?" She spat. "No," I said. "But I feel done. You ruined my chances of rebuilding. You ruined me," I said. "I'm just leveling the ground you salted." She was quiet. Then, she said the most Rachel thing imaginable. "You didn't have to go nuclear." I laughed. "Rachel," I said, "you lit the fuse. I just watched the fireworks." Click. She didn't call back. Later that week, someone left flowers on my porch. No card. Just a sad, limp bouquet of peonies. I left them in the trash where they belonged. Because this isn't a love story anymore. It's an obituary for who I used to be. I got a letter in the mail 2 days ago. Not an email, not a text. A real, honest-to-God handwritten letter, folded into thirds and sealed like it was 1998. No return address, but I knew the handwriting immediately. Rachel's. I didn't open it at first. I just sat with it. Stared at my name scrawled in those loopy R's, the kind she used to trace on fogged mirrors after showers. That same handwriting had once signed birthday cards, to-do lists, little notes left in my lunchbox like, "You're gonna crush it today, babe." Now it felt like a threat. I finally opened it after midnight. Couldn't sleep. I read it once. Then again. Then I tore it in half. It said, "I don't expect you to forgive me, but I need you to know I did love you. I just didn't love the version of myself in our marriage. I was angry and empty and scared. Josh was an escape, not an upgrade, and now I have to live with that. I see what you did to me. I see what I did to you. We both became versions of ourselves we probably hate, but I want to believe there was real love, somewhere, for a while, before we became ghosts in our own house. I'm leaving the city. I need a reset. I won't bother you again." I didn't cry, I didn't rage, I didn't even feel relief. Just this strange, quiet emptiness. Because the truth is, she was right. We both became something we didn't recognize. But only one of us tried to keep pretending it was beautiful. And I wasn't going to pretend anymore, so I called a contractor. The den? Gone. I had them gutted. Ripped out the couch, the carpet, the drywall. Repainted. New floors. Rewired the lights. Turned it into a music room. I don't even play an instrument. But now I've got a vintage record player in there and a reading chair that doesn't have her perfume soaked into the cushions. I had the door frame engraved, too. A small brass plate. Still standing. For me, not for her. Mark came over the night it was finished. Brought whiskey. We sat in the new room with Bowie spinning low and the windows cracked open, the air finally feeling breathable. "You think she really meant it?" he asked. "Doesn't matter," I said. And it didn't. Because this whole time I thought revenge would feel like victory, like fire and blood and walking away from an explosion in slow motion. But it didn't. It felt like silence. It felt like peace. Like walking out of a house that used to be a war zone, locking the door behind you, and realizing for the first time in months, your hands aren't shaking anymore. This was never about breaking her. It was about unbreaking me. And finally, I can say this with every scar, every screenshot, every aching memory. She didn't win. She never stood a chance.